People always say it's not what you know, it's who you know. Not every internship is going to be guaranteed to be an amazing experience. You're going to have rejection like everyone does. It really becomes clear to you what you want in life, like what you want your career to look like. Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing a really highly requested video which I'm really excited about and hopefully is really useful to some of you guys out there. But I'm going to be doing pros and cons about doing a placement. I know there's a lot of questions about internships and placement out there, and I think one of the main questions I get asked is like, is it worth it? Should I do it? And I thought maybe a way of answering that, but answering it in a way that's not just telling you yes or no, where it's a way like for you to think for yourself and see whether that lines up with what you're looking for and your criteria and everything like that, would be to tell you the pros of doing a placement and cons from someone who's done a 12-month, over 12 months I think it ended up being like a 15-month internship with a company here in London. I do have a whole video about how I found my placement, which I will link down below and in a card for you. And obviously if you do have any questions, leave them down below, or you can head over and DM me on Instagram because I'm pretty good at replying on there as well. So let's get into the pros and cons. So the first pro for doing an internship is obviously you get to learn about your industry. It's a really valuable experience because you can kind of test out your industry before fully committing to it in like a permanent full-time role. So you can have a bit of trial and error, see what you like, see what you don't like, see whether the industry is what you expected. And it also means that that learning that you've done throughout that year about your industry can be super useful in the third year. I can't remember what the percentage is, but I know that people who choose to go on an internship usually get higher grades because they have more industry knowledge and experience of the industry firsthand, which is invaluable in any sense. And it's also really great because that knowledge will carry with you throughout your career. So yeah, it's really great to learn about your industry, see if you like it, see the good parts, see the bad parts, and kind of figure out what that means to you and whether you want to go down a certain avenue of that industry, or whether the industry actually isn't for you or is a lot more intense, or you realise that actually you're not ready for this at all and you've got a lot more learning to do before you step into the industry. There's so many different things you can learn. First-hand experience is like the best experience you're ever going to get. It's way more valuable than learning about it in a classroom or in a book, and that will really show to future employers as well as hopefully in your grades during last year. My next pro is obviously it's a great chance to network. You'll be working with so many people in your industry who are either new to the industry or as well, or have been there for a really long time and have had a full career in that industry, and you can build your network around that. So whether that means you'll get a job with them after university, whether that's you work for them full-time after the internship, or whether that's just they know someone who might need you at another job, or whether that's where they can recommend you, or whether that's just you do your internship, leave it, a few years later you think, oh, I know that person in this industry, let me get in contact with them. It's a really, really great way to start building your circle of networks, your network around you, whether you're in a new place like London where networks are pretty important, or whether you're in a smaller town. Having a network is always great. You never know what you're going to need, who you're going to need to contact, or anything like that come in the future, especially in today's uncertain world. So having a strong network is really, really useful. People always say it's not what you know, it's who you know, and I think that definitely plays part. So even though your university knowledge is great, being able to build your network alongside that will make you like indestructible. My next pro is the amazing experience. Now obviously not every internship is going to be guaranteed to be an amazing experience, but if it is, and if you've had a lot of first-hand experience, a lot of responsibility, a lot of new skills learned and everything like that, you can get that experience anywhere else. You cannot pay for that kind of experience. That is like so invaluable to you as an individual. You'll learn so much about yourself as well as you as someone's future employee, because you would have had a chance to do a bit of trial and error, make mistakes, not get fired for them because you're only an intern, that kind of thing, and just, I don't know, test the waters a little bit. I know I've already said that, but it was a really, really great chance to do that, and will just be so valuable to you moving forward in your career. I know me specifically, I don't have a job yet because coronavirus, but come when everything's a little bit more back to normal, I know not only do I have a first degree, but I also have all of this experience of producing over this many events for this much money, and I have experience of this software and experience working in a team and overcoming challenges and everything like that. So it just makes the interview process a lot easier because I'm a lot more confident in myself and my abilities because I've had that experience of working in my industry and doing it successfully. So I touched on this very briefly before, but the next pro is that you can test out different avenues. Now, depending on what company you're with, obviously, for me personally, I was in a bit of a smaller company, not like a tiny one, but not a huge like corporate company like, I don't know, like ASOS or anything, or one that's like massive like Amazon. I was in a much smaller company, which just meant that I had a bit more responsibility, a bit more of a role, and they were much happier to kind of accommodate me and figure out what I wanted to do rather than just me like getting coffee and printing and doing copies and things, which every internship has its own value. Every internship is going to teach you something, but I think by being able to have that relationship with your employer and being like, oh, I want to try out marketing for a week, or oh, can I try out operations for a week, or oh, can I try out sales for a week. I actually ended up doing event planning for 10 months, and then I did event sales for like 3 or 4 months. So it was really, really handy. Oh no, I did event planning for 12 months. And then sales for 3 or 4 months. That makes more sense. The maths wasn't adding up. So I got to test out different avenues, which from that I know I definitely don't want to do sales, which is really handy, because when I was doing event planning I was like, oh, I think sales is more for me. I think it's a little bit more fast paced and a little more like competitive, which I think I would enjoy. And then having got into sales, it's a lot of work for not much gain, if you know what I mean, because not every pitch is going to go through. You're going to have rejection, like everyone does. You're going to have rejection, so sometimes you put in all that work and you don't get anything, whereas event planning, everything's already locked in. You've already got that business, you're just planning the event, which makes your time a lot more worthwhile, and you can build relationships with customers that are actually going to stick with you, which is really nice. So something to consider, whether that's you're testing out like a finance sector, a HR sector, a more creative sector, whatever have you. You can try out all these different avenues, different parts of the company, even if it is for a week or whether it's for a month. You can just try it out, see if you like it, see if you don't, and if you do like it, what do you like about it, and if you don't like it, what do you not like about it. And then you can kind of steer away from those things when it comes to you choosing your career or choosing what jobs you're applying for. It will be really, really handy because, like I said, reading can only get you so far. It's only when you're in the job doing it and you have that experience that it really becomes clear to you what you want in life, like what you want your career to look like, and it makes it a lot easier to kind of strive for that. My last pro is definitely the biggest, and it is future career prospects. Now, like I said, this can either be with the company itself. If you've made a really good impression, if you're a really valued team member, they might ask you or even offer you like an unconditional offer to come back after uni, or they might just say, hey, once you've got your grades, like give us a call, we'd love to like have you come back. Obviously circumstances change, that might not always work out, but a great option to have. I definitely had that option. They did say like, we'd be really happy to take you back. Obviously the climate we're in could be a little bit different now, but the offer was there, which was really nice, and just gave me a bit of peace of mind going ahead into my final year of university, because although I wasn't like, yes, 100% I want to work there, I had like a fallback option. So if all other options like ran dry, I wasn't getting a job, I was going to have to move back home because London was too expensive, I could be taken back by this company, which would have been amazing. It's a great company to work for, don't get me wrong, so why wouldn't I? But yeah, I definitely had that offer, and just having that offer is such a peace of mind going into final year. Like, trying to find a job whilst doing essays and whilst doing your dissertation is very stressful, so just something to consider. But aside from that, you also have more future career prospects because you have that great stuff on your CV. You've worked in the industry, you've worked with a team, you've worked in that kind of setting before, and usually it is for a year that you're doing internships. That's a very long period of time where you've made your strengths, you have some skills that you didn't have before, and you have evidence and proof of like, you've been successful in that, or things that you were really good at, or things that you achieved during that time, which if you had just done a degree, or even if you hadn't done a degree and you only have work experience of other sectors or other industries which aren't really appropriate for the job you're wanting, that kind of proof and evidence and stuff on your CV will just put you so much higher than the other candidates, I guess, the other people applying for the job. As for the cons, the main thing I had to consider was that it was going to add another year to university. University is already 3 years, depending on what course you're doing, obviously. That's already a long time. To add an internship to that would mean 4 years, and originally I was in a long distance relationship. I had moved away from home, and part of me just wanted to get back to Bournemouth as quick as possible. Things have now changed. Obviously, me and my boyfriend live both together here in London, and I did my internship, and it was a great experience. But it's just something to consider, especially I know that a lot of like older students who were maybe like 28, 29 really didn't want to add another year to university because they were either already had a career, already had a full-time job, or just wanted to get stuck into their new industry, which I completely understand. So I think it's just weighing up your options. I think depending on what course you're doing or what internship you're doing, sometimes internships can be 6 months, 9 months, 12 months. So you can kind of shorten the time, I guess, opt for a 6-month internship or a 9-month internship. But obviously the longer the better in terms of experience. So yeah, just something to consider. It is going to add more time on, but I think the value you get from that is pretty damn good. But something to consider. My next con is obviously that it may not be exactly what you want, depending on what kind of conversations you've had with your employers and things like that. I was really lucky in the sense that they were very much accommodating. We're like, what can we do to make sure you get what you want out of this experience? Whereas I know some companies want internships because it's cheap labour, basically. You are working for a lot less money and still either doing the same job or doing the job that other people just don't want to do. So it can be quite difficult, and I guess there's no real way around that except just being really open and honest and being like, this is what I want to gain, this is what I want to experience. If you can't offer these things to me, please let me know, because it's just not for me. So that can be quite scary, especially if it's an internship that you really want, or an internship for a company you really want, or if there aren't many internships around and you kind of have your slim pickings of which internship you can do. I would say go into it with an open mind. Obviously have a few key things that you want to gain, and if that's either when you're already in the job or before you're in the job, you can kind of like point those things out to the employer or figure out ways where you can get that experience. But obviously no internship is going to be perfect. There's going to be things you enjoy and things you don't enjoy as much, so it's just something to bear in mind that you're not going to go in and have like a Devil Wears Prada experience and be like the boss and have all of this amazing times. There are going to be some times which are obviously tougher than others. It's a job, it's an internship. Internships aren't always easy, so just something to consider in terms of like not getting your hopes up too much or not romanticizing it, and just being realistic with what to expect. My next con is that sometimes it can be quite stressful to find, especially if you're trying to find one alongside doing university and having all your essays and assignments and things like that. I would say there are many different ways you can find an internship, so the more avenues you take and the more different ways you try, maybe the more successful you're going to be. I always think like the more internships you apply to, the more successful you're going to be, because not only does all of those people have your CVs and you've kind of got a chance in more numbers, if you get me. If you only apply to 2 and you don't get any of them, but if you apply to like 50, you might get one of them. Do you know what I mean? But it also means you can go on interviews a few times and practice your interview technique with an internship role, which can be a little bit different from like a typical internship. And sometimes you will have support finding your internship either through the university or through a different program, but sometimes they don't offer that and you are solo in your search to find that internship. So it can be stressful, but I would say start early. I know I was one of the first people to secure an internship because I literally started September of 2nd year, so I had like nearly a full year before I actually started the internship. So just start early, put feelers out there, apply to places that aren't offering internships, because if you're passionate enough and like put yourself across in a good way, they may just go ahead and offer you an internship anyway, which is luckily what happened with me, and that will mean you don't have anyone to like compete with for the position rather than like 100 people all applying for the same role. So that's something to consider, as well as obviously Indeed, LinkedIn, Reed, Facebook, all of these places where you can find jobs, and obviously speak to your friends and family. So try out all those different avenues. Try not to get too stressed, but obviously usually you have a lot relying on it, especially if you're hoping to do a year whilst at uni, so it can be stressful, but hopefully there are many different ways that you can try it so it won't be too stressful. My next con, if you're doing a placement or an internship whilst at uni, is that some of your friends may graduate before you, which is what happened in my case. Our internship year Our internship year was optional, we didn't have to do it, so if people either didn't find a placement or didn't want to do a placement, they could go ahead into third year, which meant I think only like 5, maybe 10 of us decided to do an internship or found an internship. So the rest of the year went ahead, did year 3 and graduated, including one of my very best friends, which means that come graduation, probably next year, by the time that we actually have our graduation day, one of my best friends won't be there because she's already graduated, already in the world of work, which is obviously so exciting for her, but just made our third year of uni a little bit different because we weren't surrounded by the same people. We had some people from the year below us join our year because we'd gone back to uni, if that makes sense. So your year might look a little bit different, you may not have the same friendships, and if you are really hoping to graduate with someone, which originally you hope to do when you make friends at uni, you're like, oh my gosh, well, we're going to graduate together. If you do an internship, that might not happen, but again, you've just got to kind of judge whether the value you gain from that experience is worth not having that person at your graduation. So just to kind of round off the whole video, I just thought I'd give you my overall opinion of doing an internship, and if you couldn't tell from this video, I do think it's highly valuable, and I would definitely recommend anybody to do an internship, whether it's super related to what you want to do and exactly like your dream internship, or whether it's just kind of related, would give you some good experience and some good like first-hand knowledge of your industry. I would say do it. It looks really great on your CV. Your future career prospects will like elevate because of it, will increase because of it. You'll have so many more opportunities and your network will increase, which again will increase your opportunities. It's all just kind of like linked in together, and I really think it gives you a lot of confidence and makes you feel a little bit bulletproof when you enter your interview, which is always nice because you know you kind of ticked all the boxes that they're looking for. There's nothing more you could have done, whereas I feel like if you go into an interview and you haven't done an internship, you're like, oh, well, if I had more experience, or oh, if I had an internship, or oh, if I knew this kind of person. You know, it kind of better equips you, I guess, for starting your career and moving into the industry that you want. But yeah, I really hope this helped you guys out there considering whether or not to do an internship or a placement. I am hopefully going to be doing a Q&A on internships, so if you do have any questions, head over to my Instagram and you can DM me on there, or just follow me on there, and I will post like a question box in my stories for when that video is coming up. But I just want to like open up the communication a little bit more, really help answer your questions more specifically rather than just kind of some general pros and cons. But hopefully this is a good starting place for you. Hopefully you've kind of considered some things that maybe you haven't thought of before. But if you had like this video, please hit thumbs up and subscribe down below because I'm currently posting 3 videos a week. So if you're in the market for some more university videos or just bored sat at home looking for some more content to watch, hit that subscribe button, and hopefully I'll see you very soon. Bye!